Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We're recording this on Saturday, May 4th, 2024, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Dash, and I am the Pusha T to my Kendrick Lamar. He'll show you how to spit. Come to a seminar. TJ, how are you doing today, brother, and what are we talking about?
You think about pushing me? Let me see you push a T. God damn.
Team Kendrick.
That's just getting violent. That is just a massacre waiting to happen. Jam-packed episode for y'all. Going to be breaking down a whole bunch of playoff drama as we've seen the first round for the most part. We got one series still sitting wide open with a Game 7, but we're going to be breaking that down. A couple of previews for the next season and talking about what we think is next for some of these losers and teams that were eliminated. A lot of teams that had high expectations coming in this year, like the Sixers and the Clippers for sure, and where are they going to go from here? So that's where we're kicking things off today with the Dallas Mavericks advancing to take on Oklahoma City in the next round. From my side, it really wasn't a contest in the second half after a certain point. The Clippers did not get the Harden or the PG they needed, let alone the Westbrook they needed, the Zubac they needed. They just didn't
get the Kawhi they needed.
And the Kawhi they needed, most certainly. They just didn't get any of that in this one. Paul George was a minus 25 in the second half. That's not going to get it done against Luka and Kyrie, especially when Kyrie is going to put up 28 points in the second half, 11 for 19 overall shooting, and just be the maestro that he is on the basketball court. The best pound-for-pound basketball player ever, and that's just where we have to leave it at.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start because you look at Kyrie Irving and it's just so beautiful to watch this team finally gel together, especially with that disappointing loss last year, not even making it to the playoffs. And it's all come to fruition finally. I'm so excited to see it. I mean, this is some of the best basketball that I feel like you can watch just as a player. You might have an issue with a lot of the ISO ball kind of play work that they do. But at the end of the day, it's Kyrie Irving in transition 1-on-3. That's a bucket getting taken right there, and I love to see it. But like I said, looking like a well-oiled machine. Luka started off this game not getting his buckets to fall instantly, still being effective in terms of getting to the line, and actually a few plays having some surprisingly good defensive possessions. He had this really big block on Norman Powell coming down to the baseline. It's just you're not used to seeing Luka try that hard, but you could tell that this was a game that they needed to go ahead and take care of business. But his production really started to ramp up throughout the course of the game, and especially that playmaking. I mean, oh my God, finishing with a 13 assist with about 4 other wide open looks he gave dudes that they just flat out missed. I was once again impressed by the Magician's performance in the playoffs. And TJ, I want to talk about this player, just give him some flowers. Derek Lively just continues to impress me. I mean, night in, night out. It's not always going to be a dominant box score performance, but oh my God. I mean, you can make the argument, it's so hard to rim run and catch lobs from Kyrie and Luka, but no, you still got to perform the job at a high level. And I mean, considering all the shit that he's going to go through with the loss of his mom right before the playoffs and how he's still been able to just continue doing his thing out there with all that sense of responsibility and all the championship aspirations in his rookie year. Like I said, I feel like he just deserved his flowers. Have you been impressed with Derek Lively?
Oh, 100%. And where I was really going with that for the Mavericks at the center position is how good of a move it was to add Daniel Gafford.
Yeah.
I didn't see it at the time, mostly because I think Dwight Powell has just been on the Mavericks for 25 seasons at this point, it feels like. So bringing him in, I kind of underrated it at the time, but they get a combined 23 points, 15 rebounds from that center position, and they're a combined 8 for 11 from the field. So you're definitely taking that on a team where you could have 2 star players combined for 58 points like they did in this one. And then after that, PJ Washington's 14 points is really just icing on the cake for them in this game.
Some really big threes by him.
Yeah, absolutely. And really being a pseudo enforcer on this team, specifically in this series. There's the one moment with the arms folded that turned into the meme. But that's a lot of just they have a really solid 7 that are getting out there. It's not the best 7 that's left in the playoffs, but those top 2 can outperform pretty much anybody, any given night, any given series. So as long as Gafford and Lively are making things hectic on those bigs, and I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but in this Oklahoma City series, those are 2 athletic wings that Chet is just going to have to be running around chasing after all game, no matter what. So I think they're going to they're not going to cause matchup problems for Chet. Like, obviously, he'll be able to guard them. He's probably going to have some monster blocks, blocking some crazy lob dunk that Lively goes up for. But they're going to be making him work, and that's what that's what they want. That's what the Mavericks want to do.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you're talking about with the two-headed monster of Kyrie and Luka. A lot of times in these playoff matchups, it comes down to who has the better star talent. And, I mean, you go throughout the entire league of people that are still in the playoffs. I mean, Chet and Shea. I would say as much as I love Chet and Shea, I mean, Luka and Kyrie, they can absolutely perform better than them. You even want to go on the East Coast if they can make it all the way over there. We're looking at Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I definitely see the universe where Luka's outperforming those guys, outperforming Tatum, and Kyrie's outperforming JB. And then you look at the West over here with the potential Western Conference Finals matchup of Jokic and Murray. I mean, Jokic is obviously the best player in the world, but I mean, love me some Jamal Murray, one of the best playoff risers in NBA history.
Yeah.
But Kyrie Irving's known to be a little bit clutch in the playoffs as well and rise his game.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I can absolutely see a crazy matchup. Really impressed with this team.
And Jamal is already banged up a bit.
Yeah.
And this Timberwolves series, like, they're going to be throwing monsters at him every game. So if he's he probably isn't going to be 100% if they do go to the conference finals. And then we could say it with the Timberwolves as well. If you match those guys up against Luka and Kyrie, you just don't have the same star power on the Timberwolves, no matter how much we love and how much of a meteoric rise he's really had this year. Yeah. So, where are you leaning at in that Mavs OKC series? Then it sounds like we're both leaning Dallas, but I don't want to write OKC off after what they just did to the Pelicans, albeit without Zion.
Yeah, and I heard a really interesting point about how boring the Pelicans series was because OKC just took advantage of it and took complete control of that series. And I feel like that's the NBA that me and you kind of grew up with. I feel like there's a lot of 8-1 seeds that were just completely boring. I feel like in the last couple of years, we've seen some really exciting matchups. We've been a little bit spoiled. And to see a team really go ahead and take care of business like that, even if it is without Zion Williamson. I mean, this team's been to the playoffs before, unlike this OKC team with this core, and it's just really impressive to see that happen. I'm still not there all the way with having them to go against the Mavericks. I'm sorry. I know it's probably not super fair. They've done everything they could in the regular season in their own power to go ahead and show us, but it does really just come down to the playoffs are an absolutely different monster, and Luka Doncic has shown to improve his game.
And it's the same kind of logic as we think about the Celtics, where we're trying to find reasons to write them off, and same with the Thunder. And it's like we might just come back to this and be like, "Oh yeah, we were just stupid. How did we miss this?" But as of now, I'd probably lean Dallas too. So that begs. Finish that.
I was just gonna say that sometimes basketball just comes down to vibes at times, and it sounds stupid, but it's a lot of eye test and vibes because, like you said, all the numbers would point to both of these teams being way better than the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, what we've seen throughout the course of the season, like I said, especially the Celtics having the third or fourth best net rating in league history after this season. I mean, it's hard to go against them, but like you said, sometimes it just comes down to having the best players, and sometimes the playoffs don't always make sense. We've seen it before. No. Hey, fill in Miami Heat. They just don't make sense sometimes. That's what it is. Exactly. We're going to go to the Clippers angle on this?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question is, like, what did the Clippers do? It sounds like from all the insiders and talking heads is like Paul George has like 1 foot out the door already. Probably sick of the Kawhi situation. I know he's an LA guy, so might want to stay, but if winning a championship is any part of his, in terms of what he wants to do, like he's probably looking around at where to land. The two that have been thrown around the most that I've heard is Orlando and Philly. Just two teams that could really just kind of plug and play him with their current roster. Philly, they only have 4 guys under contract for next year, and the only 2 guys are Embiid at like $50 million, and then Paul Reed at $7 million with a couple other end of the bench guys. So they're going to have room. The Philly's going to have to do a whole lot of re-cosmetic surgery on this team. But when it comes to the Clippers, what can you do? Kawhi's locked up until 2027. The real question is, do you bring back Harden and Westbrook?
Yes.
Harden, I'm leaning yes. Do they run it back with Westbrook again too? Do you just kind of keep throwing the same squad out there?
So when I was looking at the payroll, is Westbrook not signed for next year? When I looked up, I thought he was signed up until 2025. If you can fact check that for me real quick.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I think it's important to talk about right here with Paul George and James Harden being free agents this summer. As you alluded to, Paul George potentially leaving, and let's say if James Harden can't figure out a contract with them, I mean, do we see a completely revamped Clippers team next year, TJ? Like, is that on the table?
The dangerous part is that they're moving into that new arena, so they can't blow it up. You can't blow it up for that first year. Okay, and I was mistaken. So, does he have is this a player option for this year? Let me go to the multi-year table.
But no, I think
he's got a he has a Westbrook has a $4 million player option.
Do you think he's going to get offered more?
No,
right?
He probably wouldn't make more than that somewhere else. So unless he's just like, I don't like being here. Like, I don't like being with Kawhi where we don't never know what's going to happen. They're in a tough spot. PG should opt out. PJ Tucker, that $11.5 million. I'm going to go ahead and say he's going to opt in on that one. I think PJ Tucker will have that contract next year. After that, they're just kind of, Harden unrestricted. Mason Plumlee unrestricted. We'll see what happens. They got some. They have some decisions to make, and it really starts with what Paul George does with that contract, because he could get more on the open market still. He could still get a max contract wherever he wants.
For sure, and just as you were saying earlier, you can't fully blame PG for wanting to go somewhere else, right? I mean, being a part of this team for half a decade at this point, he's not getting any younger. And TJ, it kind of makes me feel weird. Like, do you remember distinctly that day? That was half a decade ago. In 2019, when Paul George went to the squad.
There was the earthquake at the summer league.
Yes,
it was one of those trades I remember where I was when that first happened, and you remember this is Pat Bev said the next 5 years are mine. This is the end of that 5 years, so that's how that. And we get more on Pat Bev later, but that's what those 5 years turned out for the Clippers, and it's really disappointing. It's sad, and I just don't want the Suns to be in that same spot in 5 years. So. Maybe we're lucky that we're just older already.
No, you're 100% right. And I just wanted to allude to, sorry, this is me tooting my own horn right here, but if you do recall, we look at our old podcast, when the Clippers were going on a hot streak, I said they still never really have a chance because the Clippers curse is real. Being a former Clippers fan myself with that Blake Griffin and CP and DeAndre Jordan team, I just know at the end of the day, it just doesn't work. I mean, the quiet injuries continue to be a detriment to the squad. I just don't know about, like, what do you do about it? Pray?
Why would Ballmer not move them out of LA?
I don't know.
I get that you want the glitz and the glam, and we got a new stadium in Inglewood. Build a new stadium somewhere where you're gonna have like the undivided support and attention of the city that you're in.
Fuck it, go back to San Diego.
Honestly.
But yeah, anything else about the Clippers right there? Or are we going to the Knicks?
We're done with the Clippers. I'm ready to talk Knicks Sixers. Another team going home with crazy expectations, but we should probably start on the good side of things.
Yeah.
Josh Hart, with the very clutch play, really throughout the series, had been one of the most important players. Somebody that the Lakers probably could have used. Somebody that would be probably a decent LeBron teammate at this point in his career.
Yes.
But the story is Jalen Brunson. He basically told Becky Hammond to shut the fuck up, I think. I don't know. 35.5 points, 9 assists, 4.5 rebounds in the series. The best guy on the floor with a guy who earlier in the season put up Wilt Chamberlain level statistics. He's one of the ones. He is one of those guys, and I'm comfortable to say that. Top 10, is it fair to say top 10 player? You got to make the list, but 10, 12 sounds right for a guy that did this to Joel Embiid.
I completely agree with you. I think we have to be in that top 10 to 12 range because, I mean, all that talk about him not being able to be a first option on a team is completely dead in the water. Like you said, like after having back-to-back 40-point games, I mean, Jalen Brunson is absolutely built for this moment. And just to clarify, if any of you guys are one of those people on Twitter saying, I can't believe that this team didn't make it to the finals with him and Luka, let's not act like Jalen Brunson had any sort of same sauce that he has now on the Mavericks. It just wasn't even... It wasn't attainable. It just wasn't even attainable. Like, that wasn't even allowed at that point in time.
Even when the Knicks signed him and people were like, okay, good signing, like solid point guard, going to just be like an adult. And they weren't ready for this at all.
They were not ready. For the best Knick of all time, question mark, coming up? No. That's what New York people are talking about already. I understand Walt Frazier needs his credit.
Walt Frazier is the best Knick since Patrick Ewing, easily. Unless you want to just those 2 weeks of Jeremy Lin. Unless you want to go there, which I don't think I would. But on the other end, on the Philly end of things, same story with Joel Embiid at the end of the season. Much like the Kawhi story, He has 6 fourth quarter points in the closeout game. I know we finished with 39 in the box score. The box score always looks awesome with Joel Embiid, but he loses his energy. I know part of it, he missed a lot of time with his injury. That happens every year, and he comes back and he's not in shape. You have to figure out some way to keep your conditioning up, even when you can't run just like pure wind sprint. Like, there has to be some maintenance on your body still. And Joel Embiid, he's just going to keep getting bigger and heavier each year. That's just what happens with these big guys as they get older. And would you really bet on the next 3 years being better than the last 3? From a health standpoint, from a team success standpoint, I couldn't do it.
No, TJ, I'm glad you asked this because, like, I feel like the general consensus of Philly fans at this point, maybe if it is 51 to 49%, but I think that 51% is looking like they're kind of done with Embiid, and I feel them. I mean, you've had the man on the team for an entire decade and have yet to get out of the second round due to injury after injury after injury, and it seems like this is just who Embiid is at the end of the day. Like you said, are these next 3 years going to be that much better? So I have to pose this question to you, TJ. Is Maxey a guy who you build around? I mean, ideally, you want him to be like that phenomenal second option for a championship contender, which this was supposed to be 2024, the year that was supposed to happen. But have you seen enough out of him personally where, like, you try to sell high on Embiid and go get a star maybe next to Maxey and build around him with your cap space, or are you going for that Paul George and just run it with the big 3 route? I know you're not super big on the big 3 stuff right now after being a Suns fan, but what are you feeling at that angle? What are you doing if you're a Philly fan, if you're the Philly GM? What are you leaning towards?
So I'm like saging the room to get rid of all of Tobias Harris's just vibes away from the organization. That's for
cardio.
Me, just like
cardio.
Just getting that done. Obviously, you're Tyrese Maxey. He's going to get a max offer as a restricted free agent this year. They're going to match it. He is the brightest spot of the organization. Talk to any Philly fan. Philly fans are more done with Embiid than anybody else in the league. Like. Yeah. But I don't see any team really giving up a haul to trade for him. Who out there is going to take on $51 million in cap this upcoming season? They own $55 the next year with a $59 million player option at the end of it. So like we just said, those next 3 years, is anybody going to bank on those next ones being better? Like,
does Houston like any of that or no?
Ooh.
Is Houston interested in a Joel Embiid?
If they fully commit to being like, all right, Joel Embiid, hey, you're never going to win another award in the NBA. You're never going to play 65 games again. You're going to play 45 games. We're going to hope that we go 30-10 with you, and then we're just going to hope that Sengun and everyone else can like figure it out from there. That like would have to be the strategy, and the only way it would make sense for me. But I would like surrounding him by those like dogs, high energy players. But the Sixers, they play at such a slow pace with him, and you kind of have to. And I think they're stuck. I would try to throw money at Paul George, see what happens. At least you're more exciting. Mm-hmm. But I think their future is somewhat dark as well. I would not be expecting. They're not going to be on any of my preseason contender, the best teams in the East list. Like they got to prove it to me because it's done.
I'm 100% there with you, and Maxey being that little light in the darkness right here is big for Philly fans. That's something to work around with, and like I said, ideally I would love for them to keep him, but I do see the universe where things just absolutely crumble and Maxey has to get out of there. I think Maxey is big on Philly as a whole for the city. But, I mean, he deserves better at the end of the day if Joel Embiid's just going to be this over and over and over. Can we go on, please, just real quick, a minute, 30-second tangent real quick that I saw something that I think you'd like that I want to talk to you about?
All right, let me hear it.
Okay, so speaking of the Miami Heat, we've seen there's been rumors leaking that Jimmy Butler hasn't been able to figure out a contract with the Miami Heat. And the Houston Rockets are the biggest number one people that want to go ahead and grab Jimmy Butler. Does that automatically put them in that 10 range of playoff people in the West, playoff teams?
Maybe.
It's a maybe for you, Jimmy Butler on the Houston Rockets.
But also, so Pat Riley, the guy who is one of the 5 best basketball minds in the world right now, he doesn't want to pay Jimmy for the next 4 or 5 years. He doesn't want to get a big deal done. that would scare me if I'm somebody else. It's like, and if back in the day, if Belichick called you to trade for one of your players, it's like immediately hang up because now you know, oh, this guy's actually fucking good. Or, hey, why is Belichick trying to get rid of this guy? So to bank on you being smarter than Pat Riley doesn't seem like a wise decision in my mind. Mm-hmm. I don't like. We talked about it with the Suns. Teams get so impatient and try to jump the line so fast. The Rockets' goal next year should be to be a 6th through an 8th seed, realistically, or at least they need to make the play-in first. Honestly, you need to be involved in that and take some lumps and go through it with these guys. You have a guy in Sengun who could theoretically be a top 10 player in the league. We see it with Jokic. He follows that same mold. And I would rather bank on those guys than to just throw more money at the problem because you feel like there's blood in the water when realistically, even if with Jimmy Butler, I wouldn't take him over the Nuggets next year. I still wouldn't take him over the Timberwolves next year. The Thunder are probably going to add a center at one point or another.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't totally move the needle for me if it gets done. It would be very exciting and fun for the league, but not in terms of real playoff aspirations.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. I think the same way. I think at the end of the day, it'd be super exciting for the league. But like you said, if there's something there, there's something there. Jimmy Butler might be on the decline in terms of his health and everything. Let's move on to the next series. We got Indiana beating up on the helpless Bucks in 6. And TJ, your guy's Ant. I know you're happy to see him just destroy your favorite team in the league. Really cool stuff. But I'm also excited to see that Hallie gets his first playoff series win under his belt. We've seen amazing talents throughout the league in history, just not even being able to do that. So to see him do that, it makes me happy, makes me smile, as Flight would say. Also happy to see that he remembered how to shoot threes in a couple of those games. I was getting a little nervous if our boy was just completely done with shooting three-pointers, but it's finally come back to him. And Pascal Siakam played pretty damn good. I'm starting to like the fit between these two guys the more games I watch. I know you're probably not convinced that they're championship contenders or anything like that, which I definitely understand. I'm not gonna be ridiculous and say that either. But were you impressed with how they took care of business, regardless of Giannis being hurt, regardless of Dame having the Achilles stuff, regardless of Chris Middleton having the ankle issues? What did you see throughout that series?
Yeah, I think the best parts of it was. And we had known all year the Pacers just being an amazing offense and all these guys averaging double digits. And it really was a group effort to win this series. Like TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin both finished with 20 points off the bench in the closeout game. In that closeout game, half of their points, they scored 60 points in the paint, which is just attacking the rim relentlessly. And like you said, Halliburton, obviously not the best game of his career, but 17 and 10 assists in 30 minutes is, especially when it's a blowout win at the end of the day, that's beautiful to see. Just super well balanced. On the Milwaukee side, Dame, Brooke, and Bobby Portis did their best. Like they were all above 20 points as well. But just the team effort and the power of friendship Pacers, like they really got it done. And it sent Pat Bev into a spiral.
It did. No, 100% did. And before we get to the Pat Bev all the way, it is interesting to see that this Pacers style of play did work in that first round because there were issues about, how fast of a pace that they were. But they slowed it down completely. And I know that does go against, the Bucks being a more half-court, heavy-set team and being able to stop those transitions and be in pace. But at any opportunity that there was, I mean, the Pacers were absolutely abusing that. I mean, Brook Lopez just incredibly too slow to run up and down the court with even guys like Miles Turner. He played a hell of a series. Really enjoyed that they kept him on the squad and just went in that route of just being like, hey, we believe in our guy here. I mean, a stretch big right here. Miles Turner is big as shit. You look at him on TV. I don't know. I think his listed height is like 6'11", but his hair makes him look like he's 7'2" out there. He's a pretty beefy guy out there. So, I mean, really cool to see this team go ahead and do that. Looking at the Bucks side of things, though, is this another dire situation we're looking at? Because, TJ, I mean, I think they run it back, right? Giannis is going to be one of those guys who's not going to request a trade immediately after having so much probably say in getting Damian Lillard. We don't think. Yes, we don't think.
Because like what you said is like he okayed those moves that got done, the hiring and the firings to a certain extent. So I don't expect him to ask out, and I agree that it feels like just like a retool year. But they just gave Brook that money to keep him away from anywhere else. their starters are all under contract next year with Chris Middleton and Chris Middleton, Dame, just all their main five, right? But so they're not a second apron team yet, but they are in that first luxury tax area, so they're not getting a huge upgrade anywhere. We'd have to, once the full season winds up, then we'll have a much better idea of like what free agents are actually going to be available and what's really going to happen. But it does. You can't give up on Giannis and Dame after 1 year. So from a certain standpoint, those top two, they're staying there, like no questions asked.
Can I ask you about Raspy Voice Man being under 500 as a coach on this team? Any ideas? Any thoughts there?
I don't know if you know this, but it's very hard to take over a team midseason, as Doc Rivers like to continuously remind us. You can't fire him.
Yeah.
What do you look like if you fire him? You got to give it another go. At the end of the day, whether you like him or not, you liked him enough when you hired him, and you kind of got to. You made your bed. You have to lie in it now. So firing him now is like. Then you're going to have what? You're going to have 4 coaches over the span of 14 months? That's insane. That's insane. They're already on coach 3 in a year. Like we can't do this again.
Yeah, no, that shit's awful. Not looking very bright for this team. It's weird to see this turn of the century, the turn of the decade right here. These teams that were so successful and had these high aspirations, and not to say that it's over for any of them. I mean, I'm not going to be over here and say that this team won't finish as a top 3 seed next year again. I could definitely see that happening. But, I mean, in terms of their ceiling, it just looks a little iffy with all these injuries continuing to pile up in the worst possible moments. I do have in the back of my mind, I wonder if they're regretting I know you got Damian Lillard, but Drew Holiday is a really good role player to put next to a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, that point of attack defense is something that they leaned their hat on so heavy. I mean, you look at the playoffs that they won the championship year. I mean, their defense was absolutely stellar, and that was in big part due to Drew Holiday. So, I don't know.
And doing part to Brook Lopez those years. He was amazing on defense in that drop coverage, but he's just lost an extra step. So it's where do you go from there? They might have been better off letting him walk last year. I know it's hard to say. It's easy to say looking back, but I don't know, man. And
they're getting old.
I do want to talk about the Pat Bev thing for a second. We don't need to. Everyone knows what he did. We don't need to retell the history of Pat Bev. Shoving Chris Paul.
Yeah.
So he throws a ball in the crowd. It hits a woman. For some reason, the guy tosses it back to him, and he just rifles it right back at him. Then later in the post-game in the locker room, he tells a media member, a female reporter, that, "Oh, you don't subscribe to my podcast. You can't ask me questions." Shoves the microphone out of his face. Then he says later that somebody asked him a question like, "What do you think of Halliburton and like how he whatever?" And he's like, "Oh, he shot 19% from threes. You'd get 10 assists if I gave you the ball for 40 minutes too." It's like, well, first of all, he played 31 minutes. I don't want to be Mr. like nitpicker, but you just got your ass bust too. How many times do we need to be tricked by Patrick Beverley in this way? Like, honestly. I know people are quick to jump to the whole, "Hey, buddy, start learning Chinese." But why would another team sign him? Why would you sign up for the Patrick Beverley experience at this point? Like, what benefit is there? It's only detrimental.
Yeah, and it's just he's a definition of like a sore loser. Like you said, going back to that Chris Paul shove, that was when the series was completely over. He cannot contain his temperament whatsoever.
That's not competitive. That's not competition. That's not being competitive. That's just being a jackass. That's just taking your ball and going home. That was what Draymond had said about it. Like.
Yeah.
And if Draymond's telling you got to get your act together, bro, like you are in a bad spot.
I love that tweak up. All right. Coming up next, then, we do have the Game 7, Orlando versus Cavs. And TJ, do you remember who we picked for this series to come out on top as the winners?
We picked Magic. We picked Orlando.
We did. We picked Orlando. Are you
we're actually looking pretty good.
We are looking very good.
We're looking really good. What have we missed?
Suns.
Nothing. Well, yeah, but to be fair, I can't retcon this too much. I can't be like, "Oh no, I knew the Timberwolves would win." But like, I think we both knew we had to pick the Suns, right? Like, we're gonna come on this podcast and say we're not gonna pick the fucking Suns. Like,
yeah, it's the Right Now podcast for a reason.
Yeah, get the fuck. Come on, guys. But no, we're fucking looking if the Magic take care of business. So leading into this, I think we need to start talking about Game 6, which Donovan Mitchell with 50 points
couldn't come out with a W still.
Still can't get it done. And really, the game was, like, watching it, you're like, damn, really tightly contested. Donovan Mitchell's hooping. The Magic made 17 more free throws by him than him. That was the entire game right there. The Cleveland Cavaliers outscored them from a field goal percentage. Just everything on the court, they were outplayed the Magic in this game. And specifically, Franz and Paolo combined to be 18 for 21 from the line. So it's a really bad way to lose when you have such a game from that guy. But the home team has literally won every game so far, which feels so weird. I know it happens fairly frequently, every so often, at least like once a playoffs maybe. So does that just mean you have to rock with Cleveland in Game 7? Anything can happen from here.
I think Orlando has the sauce on their side, man. I mean, can I just give a shout out to Jalen Suggs? I mean, thank God he played basketball instead of football. I am so happy I got to see this guy just absolutely dominate in the league, in his role, what he's meant to do, and just be that hustle player out there and clamping up on defense. It is just so sexy to watch out there. But to answer your question, I think I'm still going to have to go with the Magic here. Just because, as you said, when you get a 50 ball out of your star in an away game and you can't come up short, it's going to... Yeah, it's kind of going to fuck with your head a little bit. And I think it absolutely is going to mess with this Cavs team. All the pressure in the world is on the Cavs. The Magic have zero pressure. They're playing free ball out there. That first 2 games with the Magic, it definitely looked like they were playing a little bit skittish, a little bit like, this is a tough moment right here. You see a lot of crazy passes being thrown by Paolo and Franz. But man, I am so excited to see this Game 7 right after this podcast. I mean, I think it's going to be a great one.
It's also who it kind of comes down to the coaching, in my opinion. Who do you got? Jamal Mosley or JB Bickerstaff?
JB Bickerstaff, yeah.
Like that, it's going to be who can get their team up and motivated in a better way. Jared Allen said it last year, the lights were too bright for them, and it had kind of felt that. There's like inklings of that coming this series too. So that's the knock on them, and the Magic are playing with house money. Like you said, they are absolutely no pressure on them. Even if they lose this series, every Magic fan is going to be ecstatic. They're like, we actually have something here. And if they can get it done, like the Cavs are in, Donovan Mitchell trade mode. Like, as soon as that final buzzer sounds and the Cleveland loses, he's going to be the number one trending traded player on any trade machine, right?
House is for sale, right? House is for sale.
Absolutely.
Like, he's babe, put the house on, put it on Zillow. Yeah. Let's go ahead and start looking at our options here.
I don't know if he has kids, but he's prepping the kids on, hey, we're going to get ready for a new school, kid. All right? Get ready.
Enjoy the summer in Cleveland with your friends and everything. We are moving out right here, so yeah, no, you're absolutely exactly. Right.
But so like in that Game 7, the Cavs are 3.5 point favorites right now. The odds that I saw -100 to win, so it's a coin flip money line. But they're giving them a few points as the favorite, just being at home. I kind of want to go Cleveland here, just because Donovan Mitchell's probably is the best guy on the court at the end of the day. I kind of want to rock with them. And I don't know if the Magic offense is going to be... The Magic offense might get real tight butthole here. In that last game, are they going to get... I don't think they're not going to get the same whistle in Cleveland that they did in Orlando.
Yeah, no, I understand there's going to be some clenched up ass moments out there, like you said. But man, I think... If Paolo Banchero, this might be the coming out party for him. And I would be very impressed to see that. I mean, I know there's already a lot of buzz and love around his name across the entire league, but I think this could truly be the moment for him. Obviously, they don't stand a chance.
They have Game 7 is at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And I love daytime sports, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, wow, 1 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah. And I love when sports are on during the daytime. I think it's more enjoyable. But, like... Damn, that's like disrespectful.
1 p.m.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Is that a 10 a.m. start time?
Yes, for a Game
Western?
7.
That's crazy.
For Game 7, yes.
That's crazy. You better get your ass up.
No, I will. Get your ass up. All right, and then we're gonna go over to my favorite. I think this could be the only true contenders against the Denver Nuggets, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'll be honest with you, TJ, just to make it flat out clear, I'm not going to edge you guys. I still have Denver coming out on top here. I love what they have, though. I think this team could absolutely be. Maybe they're the reason why Denver doesn't win in the finals, because of how bruised and battered up they will get from this series. Because, man, if you talk about a team that's got bigs to throw at Jokic, if you're talking about a team that has big guards to throw at Jamal Murray, I mean, where else do you look? Where else do you look for a team that's literally designed to give this team hell? This is like a Houston Rockets versus Golden State 2019 type of deal right here. And I'm super excited to see how this series plays out. Obviously, best player in the world in Nikola Jokic going up against Anthony Edwards, an absolute fucking rising star. I'm excited for this. This is going to be some real star power. And for the real basketball geekers, I think they're going to love it. For the nerds or for the casual fans, I think a lot of casual fans really enjoy Anthony Edwards' game. And I think obviously a lot of the basketball nerds love Nikola Jokic's game. So this is just going to be a perfect battle between the two of what we're going to get. TJ, who do you got coming out on top?
I'm going to go I'm going with Minnesota.
What? You do not believe that in your heart. You would not put money on that.
I probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't.
There we go.
But I see the path there with Jamal Murray being banged up. They like you said, they have the guys that they have Edwards and McDaniels that they can throw at him, plus Nickeil Alexander-Walker if anybody's ever getting into foul trouble. And then out of those two guys, the other one's just going over to Michael Porter Jr. and is going to give him hell. They gave KD and Booker hell. They are going to give Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. hell. I think that's what it could really come down to here. Especially if they're just going to be making Murray work 90 feet from the basket. That was one of the big things that they did to just delay the Suns' offense was we were getting into sets way late just because they're putting not even real pressure where they're trying to steal it, but just making you do your own individual work, right? So I want to rock with Minnesota here. The series last year, I kind of hated when everyone was like, "Oh, how closest 5-game series ever." And the games were competitive, and the Timberwolves have only gotten better. They really have. They're able to put Cat on Jokic and have Gobert just roam while he's on Aaron Gordon, and then they can do the same thing when Naz Reid's in the game. Like they're the only team with 3 guys that you could realistically throw at Jokic. Nobody's stopping him, but to do some level of containment. Yeah, just make him work. Just get him tired. Get him working.
Yeah, and the only reason why I would give a little bit on this is just because of the depth that the Minnesota Timberwolves do have. I know there's been issues with the Nuggets all year in terms of their bench. I really like what Peyton Watson has brought to the team in terms of being that energy guy. Christian Braun is super up and down. I mean, last year we saw him in the finals. I mean, take over a game damn near against Miami. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe we could see him continually step up. I could see this series ending shorter than it could be. I still do. Don't get me wrong. I think this will maybe go the furthest. I just have that much belief in Denver, TJ. Even with Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray has just continued to step it up. And I understand he's got the calf issues going on. But, man, I think this could go to 6 right here for Denver. If Minnesota were to win, do you think it's going in 7? Because there's no way. Do you think it's going to be 6 or 7? Or what do you think?
I think they got to get them done in 6 because I don't think they'll beat them in a Game 7 in Denver. They got to win games 5 and 6. Like, it's got to be they're going to have to put them down, like, hard. Because I wouldn't bet on them in a Game 7.
Absolutely. All right. And then the hardest one that I had to gauge, in a way, was this OKC versus Mavs preview. And with this one, it's so hard to say. Because at the end of the day, as we talked about earlier in this episode, that the Kyrie and Luka show is just so predictably unpredictable. And what I mean by that is that these guys can find ways to just absolutely destroy your team in whichever way possible. I mean, 2 of the guys best known for making the correct decision in whatever situation that they're in is these guys, Luka and Kyrie. And to have this amazing defense the OKC Thunder have played with all year, just a lot of hustle plays, a lot of great team chemistry, having bigger guards to throw at people. I don't know if it matters. And like you talked about earlier with the Chet and Lively matchup, I mean, Lively is a pretty big dude. Like I said, probably going to give him hell. Probably going to get hell given from Chet Holmgren. But, man, I got Mavs coming out of this one on top. I got the Mavs.
Yeah, I would probably lean Mavericks, too. We talked about it early on top about just having the best players. It gives you a greater edge than pretty much anything else in the playoffs. But Lou Dort is a big-time defender. Probably the best perimeter defender in the league. It's him, Herb Jones, or Jaden McDaniels. Those are
you ever heard of that guy, Derek White? You ever heard of that guy, Derek White?
Fuck, get Derek White and his bullshit
Drew
hairline
Holiday.
out of here. Fuck Derek White. I'm so honestly, nothing pissed me off more than fucking Derek White All-Star buzz this year. And it's all fucking JJ Redick's fault. What the fuck? What business does Derek White have in being a goddamn All-Star, dude? It's ridiculous. It's I'm sorry. It's just fucking ridiculous. I don't care how good role players don't become all-stars. The exception was Draymond, and it was because he was just so goddamn loud and rambunctious about it. We felt that it was necessary to put him in there. Fuck Derek White.
Hey, I like the Derek White defense. What the fuck does he know about being an all-star? What does he know about being an all-star?
Exactly. What the fuck does he know about being an all-star? Yeah, but so Lou Dort is going to be able to give Luka hell. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a crazy underage defender. I've made the SGA Kyrie comparison all year, so I'm thrilled to see that come to fruition in an actual series where they're going to be going mano-a-mano with each other. And then you still have Jalen Williams, who is a proven defender at this point. He's
still been a hoop in the playoffs.
Exactly.
TJ, I don't mean to cut you off here, but have you seen the discourse on people who have not watched OKC Thunder games this year? I think Jalen Williams had a really big second or game 2 or game 3. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that was a series I was least tapped into just because it was business was taken care of every time.
Yeah.
But people were on Twitter being like, Jalen Williams, who do you think you are going out here hooping? I'm like, y'all haven't been paying attention.
He's done this for 2 years. He done this for 2 years.
2 years.
And we're extra tapped in specifically because he's an Arizona guy. Yes. But damn, you should know that, man.
Watch some basketball. Yeah,
if you're not, even if you don't watch a lot of Thunder games, you would have known about this motherfucker. If you paid any attention to basketball in any sense, you would know who this guy is. So yeah, that's ridiculous.
What do you think with this this OKC team? Do you think they're in the same boat as the Orlando Magic in terms of having that house money, or do you think they have slightly higher expectations just because of the seeding finish?
Yeah, higher expectations because of the seeding for sure, but as close to being, house money as one could be in this situation as the higher seed, right? Luka definitely has way more pressure on him. I even thought obviously, Kyrie didn't save him in that closeout game. Luka still finished with 28, but that could have been a Luka legacy game in the negative direction if that Clippers game bounces a few different ways. So the Mavericks do have more pressure to get somewhere just because of how much more win now they are. But OKC, they're gonna be that team is gonna be pissed if they get sent home. From a fan perspective, they should still be happy. The future is crazy brighter than anyone else's. So then you're asking the question, okay, let's add a center on the edges. Let's figure some things out here. In that playoff series, they only had one guy score a bucket that was over 26 years old.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's fucking insane.
Amazing. Yeah. So are you telling me right now that their front office wouldn't trade their entire roster for the Suns position right now? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
You would have to, if he said that, you'd have to give him a psych evaluation. The fuck out of here. We broke it down last time. We don't need to do it again, but there's maybe 15 teams that would trade their situation for ours. Maybe 15. Maybe.
Orlando's not. Houston's not.
There's 3 teams in the second apron already, and this is considering cap holds for certain guys, but most of our guys are under contract for next year. Yeah. Of the 3 teams in the second apron, it's Boston, finals contender, Denver, finals contender, and then Phoenix. Those are the 3 teams over the second apron. The salary cap next year is going to be $141 million. We pay our big 3 $150.
Good God.
Alone.
Good God. That's awful.
We have $20 million to figure out the rest of the 8 to 10 roster spots.
That'd be awesome.
$20 million.
I'm sure we showed a lot for veteran players to want to go ahead and take minimums to play with us after that.
Holy shit, man.
But
I don't even know how we ended up here.
I don't either. Let's finish off with the basketball stuff right here. Pacers versus Knicks. We can just glance through this really quick. I'll be honest. As much of a Tyrese guy I am, the Knicks got this. I think the Knicks take this handedly, if I'm being completely honest with you, TJ. I think they got all the pieces. I think they have enough try-hard hustle guys to absolutely negate any of that fast-paced shit that they want to go ahead and run.
Okay.
I mean, Josh Hart's running around like a chicken with his head cut off for 48 minutes. I think that's a good guy to have to go against a team like this. I think they got enough size to go ahead and stop Pascal Siakam. What do you say?
The Pacers got some of their own guys like that, though. Nembhard.
Yeah, I like Nembhard. I like Naismith.
Him and Josh Hart might get in a fist fight. Or they might get in a fist fight. Who's the scrappier one? Naismith or Nembhard?
Nembhard. I think
Nembhard's that's what I thought. He's the scrappier one. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't predict the Pacers are going to get swept. I could
5.
see them. Okay, I would say 6. I think that offense could just kind of overpower them on a couple of nights. Siakam maybe comes out with a 30-point game.
Big Pascal guy now, huh? Big Pascal Siakam guy.
I'm still taking the Knicks. I'm still taking the fucking Knicks. I want the Knicks to go to the finals. That's what I
really want. Yeah, okay, so can we talk about that? So we got our locks in right here. I don't know if there needs to be much talk about it just because at the end of the day, better guy. Tyrese Halliburton was playing like a top 10 to 15 guy at the beginning of the year, just kind of slipped in this last second half. I don't think they're going to match up in terms of better player. I think they got the better team. I think the depth, as much as I love the Pacers' depth,
the coaching, you probably give the edge to Tibbs for a playoff series.
Love Carlisle, but it's Tibbs for a playoff series. But let's talk about it just for a second. Celtics versus the Knicks. I want the Knicks. I'm rooting for the Knicks.
Oh, I'm rooting for the Knicks too. I'm definitely rooting for the Knicks, and they have the guys to do it. Like OG, if he's gonna be at like 85% of who he is, they got a really good chance. Porzingis, is he gonna be healthy by then? We have no clue. Without Porzingis, it's very scary for Boston. I would still pick him.
Does Hardenstein not give Kristaps some issues? Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I don't think, and Robinson for that matter. So I'm into it. I'm all the way here for it. But one thing that kind of caught my eye, jumping back to Pacers Knicks first. There's so many matchups in these playoffs that are just like great offense versus a great defense. Like, we're kind of seeing it with Orlando, Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland is necessarily a great offense, but very explosive players. Denver, Minnesota, that's the 5th offense versus the number 1 defense. Yeah. Like, there's a ton of those matchups that have sprung up, and I think that's great. It just makes for, like, a much more entertaining series that can go really back and forth.
For sure, and we've definitely seen a few games throughout these playoff series that have finished off with some teams finishing in the late 80s or early 90s in terms of, like, the score, how much they're finishing off with. And it's cool to see. I like it. I have my TikTok Gen Z brain has been a little frustrated with the free throws at some points throughout these games. Some of them have been bad. I mean, even that Orlando one, we're looking at like, ooh, all right, we got a lot of free throws going on between Franz and Paolo. But I have been enjoying seeing that a lot, 100%. Was that it on the basketball front?
That's got to be everything.
That's everything right there.
Yeah, I guess we're finishing up the first round gets finished up tomorrow, and then we're off to the races. So
to the semi-conference finals.
Yeah,
let's go, baby.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
I want to talk real quick about the Drake versus Kendrick beef. I know this is a basketball podcast, guys, but I mean I think we should talk about it just a little bit. Me and TJ are really big music heads. I don't know if that's been known, our little references at the beginning, but all I want to say is, Team Kendrick absolutely exposed Drake. Drake, go take care of your 11-year-old daughter. Go take care of her, bro. I was part of the team that was like, I don't need the TMZ bullshit going on here. But I don't know. Hey, after the way that Kendrick did it, I love the letter, writing the letter to Adonis.
Ooh,
crazy.
To everybody. To mom, everybody. Dad, the new and then finished it off with the Dear Drake. And he's like, I really don't like you. I think people like you should die.
That's crazy. I think people like you should die.
I think that was the most vicious rap diss we've ever had. Like, it's way more vicious than Pac just calling Biggie fat like 12 different ways.
But he said you say he fucked his wife for real. He actually did.
And he did for real do that. But Super Ugly by Jay-Z, another crazy vicious one. But nah, man, I gotta give as a Kendrick stan for the last fucking over a decade, well over,
yeah,
12, 14 years type shit, and this is what we've always wanted, was the Kendrick Drake beef to finally come to like a collision course, and it took them long enough, but it is everything I dreamed it would be. And it's easily my favorite rap beef of all time. The songs have also been really good. Like Push Ups by Drake was very good. Family Matters, I gotta give it like more of a listen. It was so chaotic this morning waking up with that song, and then also like, wait, Kendrick dropped 30 minutes after. Yes. But Euphoria, been bumping it. I think it's
Euphoria?
Just a crazy dissection of character. Like, come on, man.
Euphoria goes in the whip. It goes.
Oh,
like that shit
100%.
is actually super hard to listen to in the whip. I can't
Yeah,
lie.
I love it. I'm totally here for it. I don't want anybody to get killed. I don't want it to turn into some real, like, actual beef stuff. I don't want to see anybody getting jumped, like the Freddie Gibbs, Benny the Butcher shit.
You don't want to see Drake get jumped?
I'd like to see I'd like to see a face-off. I'd like to see them bump into each other. Yeah, I want to do a press conference. Like, this is like a fight. Like, I want to see this shit. Like, I need to hear this fucking everything. So Drake has to respond again, or does Drake quit? Where does he go from here? It feels like he's kind of in the same spot as the Clippers, man.
I think you don't think Drake has enough juice and enough just diehard stands that'll just keep fucking with him if he ends it here?
Oh yeah, he won't lose any fans. He'll be fine. Like,
do you think,
if
he does the push? If he goes the push route where he's like, man, I'm not trying to take it further than
it's
this.
Too late for that. It's too late for that. It's too late for that. He already took it there, and Kendrick took it further. Like he said he was gonna do. That's the most impressive part. Is Kendrick was like, I can even predict your angles.
Predict your angles, bro. Yes.
No, everything. He's like, he's gonna drop this. I'm gonna throw 2 dishes at him on back-to-back days, and then he's gonna drop his next shit. We already know it's all leaking out, and the album art, crazy. The Ozempic bars. Oh my god! Telling Adonis like, hey man, just get a gym membership, man. Don't mess with the Brazilians. Just get a gym membership, dog. Do some push-ups.
That is crazy. Can I give props? So, same thing here. Been a Kendrick Lamar stan since Good Kid, Mad City. That was one of the first albums that I like listened to all the way through and just like fell in love with. First one ever, Watch the Throne. Just so everybody. Graduation, Watch the Throne. Big Kanye, Jay-Z, Kendrick guy. But anyway, been a Kendrick guy for a long time. Been a Drake hater for maybe the last 8 years. I won't lie to you guys.
My parents raised me to be a Drake hater. My mom couldn't stand Drake. She was the first one when he first started popping up on the radio as a rapper. She was like, she would always be like, well, he's not even like a fucking gangster or anything. He was on fucking Degrassi. She's like, why is he rapping like this? And I was like, yeah, mom. I was like, you're right. I'm like 8 years old. Fucking best I ever had's on the radio. I'm like, you're fucking right. Lucky fuck this guy. I got plenty of Drake songs on my phone.
Oh yeah.
I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he acts tough. That's it. Talking about
said it best.
Oh, got me reaching for my waist. You don't have a gun on you. You're from Canada. You're from Canada. They don't let you have those.
Crody, chill. Chill,
You're
Crody.
cheesing, fam. You're cheesing.
You're cheesing,
Go smoke that, you.
I do want to give props. I want to give props to Drake. He's got. I'm surprised. It might be the egotistical, delusional aspect in him to think that he could fuck with him in this way. But I do want to give props to Drake.
I'm glad he stepped in. I'm glad he stepped in the ring too.
Yeah. I can appreciate that as being a guy who has everything and nothing to lose at the same time. You know, Drake in terms of like his wants to keep that macho man credibility. Mm-hmm. And I guess he did have to step in the ring to make sure he keeps that. But I also feel like there was a way where he could have just easily just not said anything. Like he could have just gone on, just kept on with his Instagram captions. You're still gonna have motherfuckers like academics being like, "Oh, he's the GOAT. That's why y'all don't understand. This is that next level fucking interdimensional thinking." So I'm glad he stepped up and participated in the beef because can I say it that and this is coming from 2 white guys. So just has the rap game needed a beef like this?
Yeah.
For the megastar level.
Absolutely. We had been waiting. And this had been brewing for so long. So many dishes
Since
from both sides. And you can't even make the case because part of the argument would always be like, oh, Drake's scared to go at Kendrick. Well, there were plenty of lines that he shot Kendrick's way. And there were plenty that Kendrick shot his way. And it was a Cold War for the longest. And now, it's finally, it's real. It's real.
Man, I love it.
And there's still more. And it shouldn't. I don't think it's over. Drake can't give up after that. You can't.
So is it heating up or is it simmering down after this? Was this the peak? Was this the magnum opus?
I think this was the
climax.
climax. I think this was the climax, and it's just going to be we're going to kind of close it out from here.
Okay.
Because that song is a horror movie, dude. That song is scary.
Bro, hey, what was the one Kendrick on Mr. Morale where he said when I saw Drake and Kanye performing, I was slightly confused.
Yeah. Guess I'm not as mature as I thought. Got some healing to do. Nah, I'm here for this. He said I'm fucking here. It's also funny how he's like, nah, I'm not even a hater. I'm not even a hater, but it's also like, but I do fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be, he's like, I'm not a hater in the sense like, oh, because you're famous and you're rich and you got all the records in terms of like sales and one away from Michael, whatever bullshit he spews on about. I think he's like, no, I don't like you as a person. I don't like you as a man. I don't like you as a father. Like this shit is all this. I don't like any of it, and I'm here for it.
I like the way you dress. I like the way you talk.
No,
I like the way you talk. That's funny. All right. Well, I'm glad we got to close out on some music stuff. If anything transpires more, guess we'll definitely hit on it at the end of these episodes. Just a little bullshit at the end. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Bright Now Podcast, episode 42, down in the books.
Jackie Robinson, baby. Let's go.
Let's get this shit.
Breaking the podcast barrier.
Breaking it. Hey, as always, ladies and gentlemen, have a phenomenal rest of your day.